We are live. Well, welcome back, Anna Sarah.
Thank you, thank you.
Today, before we get started, I do want to put out there a disclaimer that anything that we talk about is literally just our opinions. We're just a couple of chatty Cathys, just chatting, you know. So I hope that everyone joins in the chat, and I'll thank you now for being here. And why don't you tell us, Anna Sarah, what we're talking about today, and what made you want to talk about it?
Well, I thought it'd be a good topic to talk about different energies. And what I mean by that is how other people perceive energies within themselves and how they feel about energy of other people. And not just people, just like in nature as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people can receive really powerful energies in their dreams that wakes them up, which happens to me quite often.
Hi,
Um,
thank you for being here.
Hello. I The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I'm not sure if other people have experienced this. I'm sure they have, but just lately, when I've been like on my phone or reading a book and I know it's late, but I'm forcing myself to stay awake and I start to like, do one of those doze offs and it feels like you've been sleeping for maybe, I don't know, a half an hour, but it's only been like what, a minute.
Right.
Those are the strangest, unique times for myself
Uh-huh.
because the last few times, a few months ago, I think the last time I spoke with you 2 months ago, um, I was on my phone and like so many times I dozed off and woke up like this. I'm like, whoa, what was that? And I received like weird patterns or like different flashes of light or a really odd object. And I try to draw it or write them down as soon as I can, but it's so strong and it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's not like in my head, like it's right there, like in front of me. And it's so clear that it's like right there with my eyes closed. And the energy that I get from it is so powerful that it wakes me up.
Hmm.
And um, I've had that only like when I start to doze off. I've seen different energies. I can pick up different energies when I'm awake, but when I'm starting to doze off, and again, I have to be super, super tired when this only happens because I believe the only I'm
Well,
sure
I
it's
think
happened.
that's alpha, isn't that? Like when we go into before we actually drift off, we.
Yeah, before
Or,
realm state, right?
I think so. There's a couple different
Yeah.
stages.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have something to do with the clarity of, the situation of being able to feel an intense energy.
Mm-hmm. I think
But
um I don't remember the first time that it happened. I just remember the earliest that I can remember was 2010, and it was um I would say maybe like a month before my dad passed. And all I remember seeing, like it was right in front of me, outer space, and this like half circle light was coming. It was like a movie screen. It started at the bottom and you can just see this purple light going up like this. And then words started to appear and it said human nature. And I woke up, I'm like, whoa,
hi, Carol.
what the hell was that? And then a month later, my dad passed. And I
Oh,
didn't make the connection until a couple of weeks after my dad passed. And I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, I was like, oh my God, human nature. That's what human nature is. People dying, people being
Hmm.
born. It's the
Right.
cycle of life. And I was just like, what? I was like, I got like a heads up pretty much. And I
Uh-huh.
didn't clue in.
I
So,
I believe, when we're in that type of state, we're definitely going to receive messages, and we can
mhm,
probably count on that message being a message from the higher self, or something that's, that we should pay attention to, you know, um in those in between states when we're not really fully asleep. And I did just look it up. There's sleep occurs in 5 stages. We have wake, N1, N2, N3, and REM. So it's probably in between the N1 and the N3. And then
mm,
before the REM, I think, as we go into that alpha or whatever.
mhm.
But so I guess what I'm wondering then is do you think that energy has something to do with that? Like the frequency you're vibrating
Yeah,
at, maybe?
because when you're receiving any kind of message, you can't be in a negative space. You can't be angry or fearful. Like you have to be really calm, really at ease, just like super, super relaxed. And that's why it's easier to receive because you're not, like you said, our energy's frequency is higher when we're very calm and very chill, and there's no distractions. And you got to be open to it as well. You can be super chill and positive and happy, but if you're not opened to the possibilities, you're not going to receive anything. You just won't. It's not how the universe works. It doesn't cooperate with lower frequencies. It doesn't cooperate with negative energies. It is there's only one law in the universe is just unconditional love and light, and that's how it's always been and always will be. So
What you
I
were
guess
telling
when he
me,
yeah.
what you were telling me before we came on was, that state that you were in, and that you had asked me if I'd ever been in a state like that.
Mm,
And I thought, as observing, but not in a meditative state. Um, I mean, I have been in a meditative state and had like visions, but not the
mm,
same as what you were talking about. Um, is like you had asked if it's like a neutral zone,
yeah.
and you explained it to me. So when I was looking it up, it brought me to ego.
Mhm.
And, ego is what keeps us attached to our 3D self. And energy wise, if we're vibrating, lower, more than likely it's because the ego is what is reacting to what's going on around us. Whereas if we're on a higher frequency, then we're not reacting from ego anymore. Doesn't mean that it's not there. But if we
Mhm.
look at it in a, like, one of the Hermetic principles is about polarity, ego is on one, it's say you got this pole and ego is the pole. You're going to have ego at the top, that is just translucent, and where a higher vibratory frequency is going on. But then ego at the bottom, it's still ego, but the degree is, larger. So then ego is pretty much what you're reacting from. So it's still the same, but depending on the degree or the frequency is if
Mhm.
you're reacting from it, or you are I guess that's really just pretty much ego's taking a back, observing. That's the word I'm thinking of. Ego is just observing
Mhm. Yeah.
instead of going, hey, hey. No, it's reacting then. And I think automatically your frequency or your energy is going to go, it's going to go awry.
Mhm. I I'd like to know if other people have experienced that
Hmm.
situation where you don't feel happy, you don't feel sad, you're just in this weird, bizarre, neutral, just being. But it only lasts a short time. It's almost like when you have, oh, what do you call it? Oh,
What we were talking about earlier?
no, deja vu. It's almost like deja
Oh,
vu, where it only lasts a couple of seconds and it never lasts any longer, which is so annoying. But it
right.
only lasts for that short time.
Uh-huh.
It's the same thing when I felt that no emotion. It was just like, I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to put words to it. Not like a robot, but I know I'm me, but I don't feel like me. I feel,
You're in third person point of view.
yeah, yeah.
Carol says, I also believe that we can be in this space when we surrender, very much like what you said with letting the ego go. And we
Mm,
were looking that up, Carol, like right before we went live, because of what she had asked me about the ego. She's like, well, what do you think that is? And so we looked up what Freudian said about the ego because, like it's Anna Sarah's opinion that we're not born with the ego. And I thought, well, I mean, maybe, but Fruity, sorry,
Pretty Freud.
Freud, Freud says, he says the ID is the basic primal part of the personality. It is present at birth. The ego begins to develop during the first 3 years of the child's life. And then finally, after that, the superego will start to emerge around 5. So,
So it's
and
like it's dormant, kind of,
yeah,
in the
yeah.
beginning.
So it makes sense that it's attached
Mm.
to this physical self, but we are in our consciousness, like right now. Hold on.
Sorry.
What's going on, babe?
I was just gonna ask if you've fed Derpy yet.
Nope, not yet.
All right, I'll do that.
Sorry. um, what was I saying? ADHD.
Freud, if we're talking about Freud, that I said it was like dormant. He was basically saying the ego's dormant for a bit and then comes out.
Right. And you were talking about how you think it is because of, again, how we're treated. And then, shadow work deals with the ego. I mean, that's pretty much what we're trying to overcome to get these energies to rise. And then you had mentioned something that made me think of what the death of the ego is. And I think this is where I found it. Well, anyway, death of the ego, you will find yourself out of time and space. And that is when you're not reacting from ego, but ego is observing. That's it. What you just described is that neutral zone. There's no emotions involved. You're not trying to protect yourself. You're literally just observing.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, B. Thank you so much for being here. So we really are just exploring the idea of, what it means to be in these higher frequencies and the energy. And we can feel that on another person, just like I found a new phrase and it's kind of linked with a nasty one. It's the narcissist word, but it was spiritual narcissism. And just to give you a real quick incident, I had seen a TikTok and I thought, oh my goodness, I know people like this. And I thought, it came from being, I was a little bit upset with somebody. And my ego was saying, all right, you need to just unfriend this person and blah, blah, blah. And I thought for a moment, I thought, you know what? No, that is my ego saying that. Because literally I don't want to unfriend that person. I don't have a desire to do that. My ego does. And why would I want to unfriend that person? Because the ego wants to hurt them back because you're hurt. And just thinking about that being ego, I happened to see this TikTok and I thought, well, that's what this person does. They brag about all the spiritual things, and like they've got all these things that they've read and done. And then as I'm reading it, I thought, oh, wait a minute, I do that too. Oh, I've read this and I've read. Yeah.
But there's different ways you can go about it. You can still share what you know and talk about it, but it's the way you do it, right?
Well, in that moment is,
Yeah.
I think what it is I realized I was being accountable for my ego. That's shadow work. If I hadn't caught myself and I'd have went through literally letting my ego drive what I was going to do next, I would have, my frequency would have been lowered. If I was in anywhere close to being in the 5D, I'd have been knocked right out of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have to be accountable for ourselves and how we react to other people, because a lot of it is our ego that is driving us to act like dumbasses, really.
Mhm.
I mean, and and think about it. When you're truly honest with yourself on why you do things, that is taking accountability for, literally, you're not doing it because somebody else did something to you. You are doing it because your ego thinks that it needs to hurt someone else because you're hurting.
Mm.
And that's not being accountable.
Right.
So, even the whole thing with the spiritual thing, I'm thinking now I need to be a little bit more mindful, because I'm not going to find spirituality in a book.
Hmm.
Seriously. I'm not going to find my spiritual self in a book. I'm going to find it when I live in that neutral, where I'm not judging, where I'm observing, I think we're all still on that journey to finding out about love. I mean, don't you think so?
Yeah, I think, it's easy to love someone, but it's not easy to love anyone and everyone unconditionally,
Right.
because you have to be like prepared, because everyone's spiritual journey is different. They're not going to be at the same pace as you are. Some people
So
are.
what is love? What is love? What is love?
Acceptance of everyone at their worst. Because if you can't love them at their worst, you don't deserve anybody at their best, right? So with all their anger issues, their ups and downs, roller coasters, their bad habits, I mean, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and they say they're going to forgive you and they're going to be sorry, and then they do it again, and then they say sorry and they do it again, over and over and over. You still have to love that person.
Yeah. But love is a high frequency. Love is an emotion.
Hmm.
See, that's what I struggle with, because
Is it really an emotion? Or is it something that is...
Or does love make you happy, which is an emotion? I don't know. That's why I ask, I think. But love is supposed to be the core, the center of everything. So what is love then? I mean, if authenticity is supposed to be actually the highest frequency that we can vibrate at. Authenticity is what? That is exactly what you said. It's being our true selves, and not apologizing for it, but being mindful on how we react to everything instead of seeing ourselves as everything is happening to us. Instead, we see ourselves as the person that is making everything happen. And so we can be mindful of that, you know, and it takes us out of comparing ourselves to other people. Because here's another thing that I found, and I thought was really, it was really helpful. When you think about ego and how it can lower our vibration, because ego is actually good. Love is a strong feeling. Now, see, I can get behind that. It is a feeling. And feelings and emotions, there's so, you know, emotions are, I think of emotions as being triggered by passion, but it can also be triggered by ego.
Right.
You know, so there's a,
We need
and
to get a
again,
Buddha.
too,
Sorry, we need to get a Buddha on here and ask him
yeah.
that.
I follow some. They're self-proclaimed, you know. So listen to this. This is what happens when ego is like, I think I might have already. Yes. Okay. So this is how we know if our ego is in a bad state. Like, have you ever disliked someone for succeeding? If you have, then your ego you might be reacting from it.
Right.
Do you compare yourself to others?
I think everybody does that.
But we know that we shouldn't, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you look for attention? I mean, hello, I'm here on YouTube. Yeah. Do you see yourself as better, cleverer, or nicer than others? That's part of that spiritual narcissist that I was reading. I think, you know, we can see when other people are, but we need to see it when we're doing it. Do you like talking about other people's imperfections? Might have the ego problem.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that your virtual signaling showing off how moral you are? Ego. Have you ever looked down on someone for not trying as hard as you? Ego. It's like, but when you're thinking these things, it's also another word would be self-righteous. But being self-righteous is ego. I want to see what Carol says here real quick. She says, it is said that there are only two core emotions, love and hate. From these two, all other emotions are created. This was from a spiritual teach from the Course in Miracles. Thank you, Carol. Yes.
Thank you. That's also in one of the insight books. The first insight, the second insight, the what's it called? The Celestine Prophecy book. In the movie, they talk about that too, and they talk about love and hate, and then within hate, it separates other emotions like fear, anger, sadness, self-doubt, pity, and then the love part goes and breaks off to like happiness, laughter, kind, and it just goes on and on. So yeah, it says the same thing there too.
The ego allows us to get a view of where we are at and fine tune our vibe. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Carol said, thank you. Yes, because I think she remembers that from there. So yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, ego is essential, but it can also be, you know, it can control us, like what Eckhart Tolle says.
Yeah.
It's what the pain body operates from. So it can control us and it make us think that we're so much better than these people that are making the effort as we are, you know. But that's our ego. but it can also be healthy and protect us. Like one of the things that I have trouble with is boundaries. But then I think I don't have to hurt somebody else to have those boundaries.
Right.
And that's something I've always struggled with. And people
Mhm.
will say, oh, yeah, but you have to do these things to protect yourself. It's part of having a boundary. Yeah, but I don't have to hurt you to have a boundary.
Mhm.
And I stand firm on that. And so, the internet social games, I don't play them. I don't. If you want to be my friend on social media, be my friend, because I think there's also an unfollow button on social media if you don't want to see what somebody is, you know.
Mhm. Yep, I think so,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Boundaries, April, yes. Um, for myself, a boundary would be not putting myself in a situation that has caused my ego to rear its ugly head, where I found it hard to be accountable for my own reactions. A a boundary would be just not looking at those things, or maybe not picking up the phone for a little while, or just not being in that person's presence.
Yep.
Boundaries don't have to be just a person. They can be with, a TV show. Maybe I don't want to watch a certain show that's going to trigger, it's
Mhm.
being mindful of your triggers and
Right.
creating boundaries from that. A boundary that I have with a person is what I mean when I say I don't have to hurt that person to have a boundary, because most time that person doesn't understand that what they said or did was triggering to you in the first place.
Mhm.
Why should they have to pay for your triggers?
Mhm.
I don't believe in that.
Another thing to add is when you're going out shopping, like to the mall or to a coffee or just out for a walk, you also have to protect yourself, boundaries, spiritual boundaries when you're out and about as well. And if you don't know how to do that, it might be difficult at first, but the more you keep doing it, it gets easier. So when I'm out and about, and I don't do this every day, I tend to forget because I'm forgetful. Um, but
Me too.
I've been taught from my stepmother when I was 15, um, a double purple pyramid screen, not a shield, a screen, because that can filter any negative energies around me and it will block that out, but it will still receive only positive energies. So it's like a screen, like when you open up a window, you see the tiny
Mhm.
little holes. It's like that. Um, but I made the mistake one time of saying shield. So when I did that, I remember I just wasn't feeling good. I don't know. I can't remember. It was years ago, but because I was blocking everything, positive and negative, I was blocked everything out. I just wasn't feeling normal, wasn't feeling right. So you got to make sure your words are very specific and true to exactly what you want. Some people do the pyramid, some people do a ball, they imagine um I don't know, they can imagine their loved one that's passed on, like whatever feels right for them. Um to get used to doing that every time when you're out and about, cuz the world today is there's so much crap. So much. Yeah.
Um, what April says to her, a boundary is naturally created when she is shining from her authentic integrity. We don't put up walls. We are the truth we know. And that is good, because authenticity is being our true selves. It's not caring what someone else, how they expect you to be. It's being honest with who you truly are. It's being honest with everything.
Mhm.
Authenticity has nothing to do with someone else. It has everything to do with just you and no one else's opinion of you, and standing in it and just being accountable. And usually, the more authentic you are, the more people don't like you. And it's the truth. It really is.
Yep.
It's because they just don't understand how you can just, how can you, you know,
Yeah.
but it's okay. It's a beautiful thing because we don't need somebody else to validate us.
Hmm.
And then Farah, Farah has been in counseling for a long time. So she has worked with professionals and she's extremely smart when it comes to the things that she's learned. She has a master's in teaching. So, I mean, she's actually, so does April. So I think that they're right on the money when they are giving their opinions on this. And I thank you guys very much. She said, I worked with a counselor how to create boundaries with my family, what I would accept and what I would not accept. Yes, exactly. But do we have to hurt other people? This is a good question. Or do we have to involve someone else in that? Do we have to, like, this is my question. Do we have to tell every person, well, this is my boundary, don't cross it?
Mm.
Or is there things that we do consciously that just kind of like what April said, her walls go up. It's something that it's natural.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't have to actually put up a wall. So I guess
Mhm.
that's my question. Like, we don't have to go and say, oh no, you crossed my boundary, you're done. No, we can just, we know how to react without, it's almost like, okay, I caught the ball and I'm not going to throw it back.
Yeah.
It's done. The game's over.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. I'm talking more like energy wise. If you're not, um, you can get cuffed. Oh my gosh, words. You can catch yourself off guard energetically if you're in a good space and someone's walking by and all of a sudden you just felt angry or just feel like, ugh, like why am I so frustrated all of a sudden? Like that's what I mean by putting this screen up.
Oh,
Energy wise.
right.
Energy wise. Yeah.
Yes. And I actually, you know, I mean, I'm one of those crazy ladies that will like, um, you know, create one of those shields.
Hmm.
You know, I'm actually envisioning my higher self or my whatever ethereal self is like, you know, it's creating it, and
Right.
I can protect anybody because I have that superpower.
Yeah.
You know, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And B says sometimes setting boundaries can hurt people. Yeah, intentions are everything, though,
Hmm.
is what I believe. That's why, like the story I was referring to, is just a very vague example. I think we've all been there with
Yeah.
social media. You know, I have a lot of friends on my social network. You know, and I'm going to tell you 98% of them I've met because they're from school or when I was in a band. These are people that, you know, I've actually interacted with. So, you know, and sometimes, especially during political season
Hmm.
or if ever, you know, they have a very strong opinion about something. And so, you know, I was unfriended a lot during certain political times and I just thought, wow, really? There is an unfollow button, you know, instead, or, you know, it's just one of those things. I feel like, even with spirituality, I see it. People think that their way is the right way, and not to call out the biggest, um, like Christianity as a whole. Sometimes you will have a sect that will be a little bit hypocritical, and they'll
Yeah.
want to tell you that, you know, you might want to be careful. And we're talking in a spiritual sense. So, like, I myself chose the path of omnism because this way I can respect the truth in every religion or belief, knowing that not one is the truth, but I can respect it because my truth is literally something that I have found through gnosis more than anything. Yes, I've read a lot of uh, esoteric text or translations of esoteric text. I've read a lot of that. And it's because I'm searching. I'm always searching. And I'm definitely, it's very much centered around Jesus and, that biblical time, so a lot of the things that I've read have to do with that. But that's not what makes me spiritual. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, so when someone has a really strong opinion about something like that and they get offended, they might want to unfriend you all of a sudden. I got a little off tangent there. That's ADHD, by the way. But, I have to think to myself, well, before I unfriend this person, am I doing it because I don't want to hit the unfollow button? No, I'm doing it if I unfriend this person because I want to send a message to that person because I don't agree with them and how dare they? Part of being authentic and taking accountability is to realize that you don't have to involve that other person. You can just unfollow or you can just choose not to. And it is a way of creating a boundary for yourself that you didn't have to, that other person didn't even have to know. If they come at you with a specific opinion that goes against, like say on your own page, then you can politely ask them, then maybe you might have to create some more solid boundaries because you don't want them, like deliberately trying to trigger you. But I think you can tell intentions in people. Do we want to hurt that person or is it because we're hurt? So I still have that question of the boundary thing. You know what I mean? How does the boundary hurt another person unless they were deliberately trying to hurt you? You know what I mean? And then you put up the boundary to,
Well, again, it's they choose how they want to react, right? And you
right.
choose how you want to react.
Mm-hmm.
I've unfriended people because they were like choosing the wrong words to express themselves on the profile. They didn't even bother, instant messaging me and then saying whatever. They did it like right on my profile. I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. And then you should have a right to say,
yeah. And I deleted their comment and then I messaged them privately saying, I'm not sure where this is coming from. I didn't do anything to you. I never said anything, but because you don't like what I post on my profile, then you need to keep it to yourself. If you can't do that, then I'm going to unfriend you. And then the person got more upset from that. And they said more negative, really stupid words. And I'm just like, okay.
You warned them.
I'm separating. Yep. And I deleted them. I was like, no.
Yep.
And I think I handled that pretty well.
I would say you did.
But if you asked me 30 years ago, if that happened to me, I probably wouldn't have reacted the same.
Right.
Because when you start researching your own spiritual self and you learn and you talk to people, you are going to lose friends. You're going to have very few friends that you've had before.
Exactly what she's saying here. And that's exactly what I was trying to say earlier. If you are authentic, truly authentic, you will find that you don't have a lot of friends at first because, it does trigger people. If they are very much an idealistic person, they believe that how they feel about things is right.
Right.
And how you feel about things is not right.
I know.
I can see that in palmistry, by the way. Yeah. If you are, if your heart line is pointing at Jupiter. Jupiter is where we find our ego. Then you are someone that feels that your ideals and the way that you feel is right.
Mm.
And you will tend to judge someone else from your ego on how they, whether how they're reacting to something or how they believe or whatever, anything that has to do with, our emotions and our feelings and everything. You will be more triggered by somebody who doesn't match what you feel. And so
Yeah.
those type of people have to surround themselves with people that are just like them,
Mhm.
because they have a hard time being around people that aren't like them. And it
Mhm.
is because they get triggered easy. But yeah, it's something. And this is another thing too, if we're talking about like trying to get to a higher frequency, is we have these systems that we see, like astrology, palmistry, numerology, where we can see the potential we were born with. And when I say potential, that's the potential to be a certain way. So if you're trying to be another way, then you can see where you might struggle.
Mhm.
And so, it's not right or wrong. It just means you might struggle more to be who you are trying to be,
Mhm.
who you're, and that's ego even. It's all ego, but I mean, it's still, it shows you where you might struggle more to be a more spiritual being, it's that Kundalini. It's like, I need to help that get up there. But I might be more inclined to be, reacting from ego than not. So I might struggle in these certain areas more so. Getting to know yourself is very important.
It's a lifelong lesson.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, it is.
I think every year you're learning something different about yourself.
Yes.
It may not be like 5 things or 10 things, it could be just one thing. It's
Yes.
Everything's always changing, so the more you feel things, the more you research things, the more you talk with, like, it's all transformation. You're always transforming into something every day, every day.
Transformation. And as much as we can hear that ego is good and healthy, it is. But in order for the Kundalini to rise and reach that destination, the ego has to die. And the ego doesn't totally die. It becomes translucent, but it becomes an observer.
Sorry. It goes back, like you said, it doesn't die. It kind of goes back to dormant, like how we were when we're born.
Mhm.
Ah,
Oh, yeah. I like that.
ah, light bulb. Oh my gosh, that was
I know.
interesting.
It's Ouroboros right there.
Yeah.
The ideal way to
Wow.
understand and try to create harmony with people, unfortunately, is important to stop people in order to take care of oneself. I understand that, yeah. And Farah's been one that's had to use radical acceptance with her family, but she lives with her parents. She's taking care of her elderly parents. So she's had to have radical acceptance in order to do that. If we're not living with someone else and we know that they're just things about them because of the things we don't like in ourselves or whatever it is, we're not at that stage and it's nobody else's business. If we cannot coexist with that person, then it is a healthy boundary to just separate ourselves from that.
Yep.
And I just, depending on what it is you're trying to achieve in your life is honestly for you to worry about. It's no one else's business. So that I absolutely agree with that, because my biggest battle with boundaries is because I don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. But I think every situation is going to be different. Like sometimes the people that leave your life, they just think or you realize that was for the best,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yep.
But
Yep.
I didn't have to say or do anything, so I'm good. As far as like, you know what I mean? I didn't have to like initiate that. And
Mm-hmm.
and then you realize it's always painful, like what B's saying. It's painful, but when you realize the greater good of a situation, it helps, but it takes a lot of your own searching within, getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And April says, okay, this is semantics, but I don't say higher vibration. That's linear and hierarchical. I'm seeking coherent resonance. Yeah, you're right, semantics, because I believe in polarity. And polarity is all one. It's just at a higher degree of something or a
Mm-hmm.
different degree. So, yeah, I don't even think it's necessary to even talk about it. I mean, as far as like the differences in how we speak it. I have a little bit of a trigger issue with being politically correct. I that's my own thing. I think there's other things that we can explore than saying something exactly correct because
Yeah.
somebody says that's how it needs to be said.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could all communicate telepathically because
Me
then you
too.
wouldn't be able to hide anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be able to hide anything. We can hide things with words, intentions, even. Yeah, definitely. So true, Carla, is to seriously ask ourselves why. Why do I think and feel this way? Don't expect an immediate answer. It may come from a dream or through journal writing. Oh, yes.
Yep.
I agree with that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The why is something that is very essential to ask ourselves, especially shadow work. You know,
I think everybody should carry like a little notepad
yeah,
like in their pocket or whatever, because you could be having a good time and then all of a sudden like you would just have this feeling of either like sad or anger or just annoyed for no reason. But it's never just for no reason. You're picking
yeah,
up on somebody else's energy, because if you know nothing's bothering you at that moment and it just turns like a light switch, then
that's
you
true.
know you're picking up someone else in the room.
I do that when I'm driving.
Ugh, yeah.
It's like I get behind the wheel and automatically I'm feeling that energy, and let
Mhm.
alone my own energy. Like my initial energy when I get behind the wheel is protection, and I'm in a vehicle, I'm in a piece of machinery that could kill another person if I wasn't responsible with it. I could kill
Yeah.
myself if I'm not responsible with it. So I've already got that high anxiety going. And when I get behind the wheel, so then I'm going down the road and I'm like, then someone else gives me a look and I'm just like, the heck was that for? Or they're up on my butt because I'm not going fast enough. It's like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's another struggle, which I have gotten a lot better. But there are days that I literally are just like, okay, you know what, it is what it is. And I guess I'm not going to be in 5D while I'm trying to drive this I can be
Yeah.
mindful, I truly can. But then there's days where it is almost I'm
Unbearable.
letting the 3D world get to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where
Oh
I
yeah.
just like, okay, I'm not going to achieve it today. And what do you think about that?
I need to have more patience for stupid people.
Well, yeah, but see, those
I
words,
know, I know, I know. But like yeah, I could be driving like you said, and if there's for example, the speed limit is 70. I'm doing 77. I try to go just below 80, so I'm not really doing 10 over. And the person is right on my ass. And I'm like, and there's no cars on the road, just me. And I'm looking at the mirror. I'm like, really? I go, what is your problem? And I'm like, and I find myself going like, go around, because I'm not moving. Like stupid stuff like that. And
I
then,
know. It's
but
games.
I do find myself not staying angry as long as I was like years ago. So I get
Yep.
frustrated, I get angry, but now I'm finding it easier to like let it go. So it's a work in progress. Like
Yeah,
it's
it
not
is.
easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things I tell my kids, I wish I had actually started diving into shadow work when I was younger. And
Mhm.
I've actually been like, I have, introduced them to shadow work, to try and help them through their own personal struggles. And I always tell them the basics of it is just you learn to not blame other people for things that happen to you. You learn to be accountable for how you are reacting to the things that have happened to you. And it gives you compassion for the person that did those things to you, not blame them.
Right.
True shadow work you will learn to have compassion for the people that are reacting from that place that you were at.
Mm-hmm.
It's recognizing that you were there. It's recognizing that we go through these stages and that we are all deserving of love. And intentions are everything. And sometimes we don't see those. And so shadow work will teach you to not only love yourself, but love someone else who has been or that is where you were, and they're reacting from a bad place or because they're hurt, they're angry, they had stuff, it's generational trauma is a hard thing to break. But again, it's like I said, catch the ball, when somebody's playing those games, and people play games when they're driving.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad one. And then in social interaction, there's games. It's like, I'm gonna one up you on this one. It's games. And so you catch the ball and you're like, you're done. You just ended the game over. Yeah, anyway, I was kind of compassion or empathy. Empathy. Yeah, I think both.
Yeah.
Empathy is like being able to feel, right? And compassion is understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they both would have to compassion from empathy. Yeah. Yeah. Understanding or from the empathy. Yeah. Yeah. Either way. And, or I think those are both important.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you had said that you had been in those stages where, you found yourself out of space and time, and honestly, this is kind of going back to the Kundalini awakening, you know, once that energy starts to rise within us, it doesn't stop. So every time we're triggered or we haven't done shadow work to get us past a certain thing, we will have those blockages in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Kundalini is awakening and it hits those blockages, what do you think is happening when that energy is going like this? We could get sick. There's all sorts of things. We could have mental problems. We could have a lot of mental problems.
Migraines.
Oh, yeah, it's going to affect us physically because once that starts to rise, I mean, it's important. It's on a mission. So, and it's gonna bob. But yeah. Let's
It's
see
funny
what
when you get to that sorry, 1 second. Ugh. When you get to that feeling of like no emotions and stuff. I remember when it happened the first time, waking up, I felt fine, normal, and it just kind of gradually went. I don't know how else to describe it. It didn't just happen. I just find myself kind of going, and then just like, even my friend said something was up. They're like, "You're right, you look kind of off." I'm like, "Yeah, I feel weird. I don't feel like I'm like here, but I know I'm here, and I don't feel sad or happy or angry. Just, I don't know."
Neutral.
Yeah. He's like,
Neutral.
"Oh, yeah." So
Yeah.
it's just funny, like it gradually goes up. It doesn't just happen like quick.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
For the Kundalini to rise as far as like up in this area, the ego would have to fall away. And
Mm.
what I had read about the ego death is that, yeah, that you will find yourself out of time and space because you're not really in your body. You're still tethered to your body, but it's almost that alchemical mutation that, like the Essenes talked about with Jesus, or should I say Jesus was trying to learn what the Essenes were teaching him, that
Mm.
alchemical transformation, what they talk about in that book. You told me about the
Celestine
one that
Practice.
yes, that was the whole idea. That was heaven. That the kingdom
Mhm.
of heaven is here.
Yeah.
It's here. We're not
Able to
on
tap
that
into it all the
frequency.
time.
It's a
Yeah.
certain frequency that we will be at when we,
Mhm.
and they came right out of it. It's like they were in it and then they were out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I missed some comments, and I think I missed some important ones. So I want to put them up real quick. April says, this points to the question of the purpose of this constructed experience. How does the purpose of this incarnation play into what and how we live and what we seek to, I'm thinking, learn from and towards, like what we seek to live from and towards. Okay. That's a big, powerful question. And, what do you think?
I gotta reread that. Hold on.
So like, what's the purpose? What do you why are we here?
Mm.
Especially with what we're talking about. Why do you think we're here?
I think we're here just to experience. That,
Yeah.
nothing more, nothing less. Just live and experience whatever comes our way. I think that's each human's purpose, is to experience life. And I believe, and I could be totally wrong, I personally believe that we're given small life lessons throughout the life and big life lessons.
Yeah.
And I think God has put different synchronicity events in our lives, and it is up for us to experience the good and the bad. And it's like a story. That's it. Our life
I
is like a story. It's like the never ending story. There you go.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
think
just
it's like the
never
wheel of
ending
fortune.
because our energy never dies. It's just our physical bodies. So in this lifetime, this chapter is about just learning this life and
Yeah.
how we choose how to do things, how do you learn how to do things.
It's going to be different for each
Yeah.
person. They're going
Yeah.
to know what they want to experience when they're waiting to either incarnate. Maybe they want to live in a different, realm. Who
Yeah.
knows? I mean,
Hmm.
I really do like Dolores Cannon. So I've read her book, when they're in between life and death. And just knowing what some of these people have recalled in some of her sessions really resonated with me. And so I think of the Wheel of Fortune card, and the Wheel of Fortune card even has like the zodiac on it. So I think like every time we ascend, you know, die, or we become something different, you know, it's because of all that experience is transforming us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're on the other side and we think, okay, well, I still need to experience this, you know, or it's a collective effort. Okay, somebody, we need to, because no one is ever going to be the same as the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So so just like, you know, our birth chart is mapped out in a certain way, by taking a look at that, it'll kind of give you an idea if you see not where it's easy, but maybe where you might have to overcome something that might be potentially hard for you, is an area that will be rewarding if you are. And these are, again, just my opinion. But when I think of the Wheel of Fortune and the card, I feel like that's it. It's like you said, be the experiencer, but that experience is totally unique to each individual.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna make
And
sure.
I just, when you were talking about that, I just thought about when, for example, if we had like 4 lives on this planet or wherever, um, when we have those deja vu moments, our energy, since energy never dies, when we go back into our physical body, I think everything that we've learned in previous lives stays with us because it's energy. So I believe when we have those deja vu moments, or when we have dreams or meditations, some of that could be coming from past lessons to remind you in this lifetime. Remember this life lesson that you did the last time? Goes, you're getting close to this one, like warning signs. Like that's what just popped into my head right now.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those ideas that pop in, or your higher self going, oh, and by the way, I gotta tell you this.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
hi Maria, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to, Farah said, but to be honest, recently somebody had blocked her on social media and she reacted badly. And see, here's the thing. We're only human. That's
Yeah.
part of being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
is saying, you know what, I did this. And you know what, I don't want to do that again. So I'm putting it out there, you know. Either way, you don't even have to say that you did something bad, but it's being authentic. Authentic is realizing that we're
You
not
did
better
it.
than anybody else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when we start judging someone else for how they are or something they did or said, then we do think we're better. Or what is the point?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we can guide people and talk to them and vent to each other and help each other. We're not going to go, yeah, that's right, sock it to them. I mean, we can, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
We're gonna slip occasionally, like you said. We're not gonna be perfect. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna slip. We're gonna be like, oh, F you. Like it happens. But you
right.
gotta like not be so hard on yourself as well.
Yes.
And
Forgive
that's just as
yourself.
hard as not being hard on other people. It's just as hard. Like I remember when a couple years ago I was like, okay, I gotta stop judging this person because I don't like what people are saying about me, even though it's not true. So I'm just like, I was trying to train myself, and then I started to catch myself just when I was about to think. I was like, oh, no, don't think that. Like, they could be doing this because of this, or they could be doing this because of this reason. Like, so yeah, try not to be so hard on
Hard
yourself
on
because
yourself.
you're gonna slip. It's just
That's
who we are.
it's Someone else had mentioned this a long time ago in a video that I had watched about herd mentality. It's one of the reasons why I have trouble with politics is because someone on the outside looking in will group like my friends. If I have a friend that's this way, they think you're that way. If I have a friend that's this way, they think you're that way. It's that herd mentality instead of realizing that we're each individuals and we can love somebody else that's different from us. I feel like that's a part of being an experiencer is my palms show that it's not pointing at Jupiter. So I don't hold my standards on how I view things that you have to view that way in order for me to be your friend or be around you. I don't struggle with that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I can see that two people can be friends and be totally opposite of each other. And that herd mentality, like with politics, if you're on the left, the people on the right are like, ooh, lefty, and then same with the people on the right will do that and I cannot get behind that. I can't get behind that, but it's because of that. It's judging people. I don't want to judge somebody for any reason, whether, you know what I mean? I'm not going to judge somebody for skin color, their sex. I want you to be who you are, and who you say you are is who I want you to be. Yep. It's who I think you are. I have no right. I'm not going to say that I don't judge sometimes because I do, but that's my fault, not yours, Yep. April says, how do you connect this experience to the experience of others, thinking about this in relationship to care for others, triggering them, etc.? Right there, what I just said. Yeah. I do judge, but I don't want to. I don't like that about myself.
You just have to catch when you're automatically starting to think like, oh my gosh, she's doing this again. Like, okay, as soon as you say that in your head, you have to think, try to put yourself in their shoes and how they think. And then maybe you wouldn't be less frustrated or angry. I mean, you still don't have to understand it, but to put yourself in their shoes, you can see, okay, well, this person's situation is like this. That's probably why they're acting silly like this, because they're too frustrated or so and so. So I think that's the best way you could try to do it that way. I don't know. I mean, I've done that with some family members. Took a long time. You have to be patient with yourself too.
Absolutely. I missed some other good comments. I accidentally hit the Zoom, and so everything was like right here. I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing a bunch of comments and stuff. Yeah. And so first she says, I see the human experience as a learning moment. Absolutely. I do too. In some incarnations, we choose to be happy, and some we choose suffering. Oh, that is such a good.
Yes, 100%.
I'm so glad you said that, Maria.
Yes.
One of the things that have been triggering for me is when I see somebody saying, join me in the 5D. And then I think, well, what about Maui and those places? No, that's not it. I think that bad stuff is still going to happen because those are some of the lessons that we had to learn or whatever. And by like putting out there that's what works, you must not be because you don't have this or that, or you're struggling. So there's no way that could send someone into a dark night of the soul. I actually saw a TikTok where a girl was like, her dog was dying, and she was manifesting that he was going to be okay. So then he died, and she had to struggle with that whole mentality of, but I manifested, so then she was doubting herself. And I mean, we can harm each other with that too. It's still, God, Maria, you're so right that we just don't know. We just don't know. A 5D is just, it's a state. It has nothing to do with we're not manifesting for other people. We're manifesting for ourselves. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, I thank you for saying that. Yeah.
I think my life in this time, my big life lesson, one of them is to learn about struggle for
It could
sure.
be. Absolutely. You're going to get to know, the more you are true with yourself and honest with yourself, you know, you're going to have reoccurring themes, obviously, because
Mhm.
there's something you have to learn.
Yeah.
You're going to know for yourself. Someone else is not going to know that for you, you know,
Mhm.
so we can't listen to what other people think. We can be guided. We can let people guide us, you know,
Yep.
but inevitably we have to truly know ourselves. That's where it
Mhm.
starts. Maria said lessons that keep coming up is dealing with unprofessional people, whether it was at a university or not work. I always expect them to operate on my ethics, but that doesn't work. I feel you there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am more and more noticing the difference in different generations, and that youngsters are, oh,
Yes.
me too.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So different.
Yeah. It's
I
like,
don't I
should I even say anything? I don't want to say
That should be a whole other topic. Oh my gosh.
anything.
Yeah.
But Carol, yes. Yes. The date of birth and all of that. I've noticed some things myself. And yeah, it's almost like there's
Mhm.
lessons generationally.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe we are here to be here. The idea of the 5D somewhere else is heaven repackaged. Yes. That's it, April. That is it. That is, thank
Mhm.
you.
I have something
Beautiful.
slightly off topic, but it's
Yes.
still in the realms. But I saw, I don't know if it was one of those Facebook reels. Um, and I don't know if anybody knew this before. Maybe I'm just late knowing this information. But it said that when we were teaching like sex ed in class, we were taught that the sperm goes to the egg and one strong sperm goes into there, sometimes two. But that's not the case. I just found out that the woman's egg chooses the sperm. So we are all chosen to be made and be here.
That's freaking,
That's
wow.
insane. I was like, what? I was like, nah. I had to Google that and it was like, yeah. I was like, whoa. Yeah,
I have strong
crazy.
opinions on a lot of things. Just gonna
Yes.
say it
Oh.
just made me think of something. And this is controversial, and I'm probably going to be banned or shadow banned more than I am now. But
Oh.
I that term that trans women are women,
Mm,
I really have nothing to say about that, because again, they feel a certain way. I'm nobody to judge. But also, people who menstruate are women. So there you go.
yeah.
I said it, and I'm going to get
No, if they feel like a woman, that's all power to them. But there's one thing that I don't agree with is that they shouldn't compete in women's sports because physically they are much stronger because they are born male. So you can do the whole sex change, you can make yourself look beautiful as a woman, but that's the only thing that I wouldn't disagree or I don't agree with. But everything
That's
else,
one thing.
yeah.
Bob would probably be mad at me, but I honestly don't have an opinion on that either. I mean, I think that if they are physically stronger, then that's different. But
Yeah.
I have seen men that aren't. I have
Right.
seen very lanky, very feminine men.
Yeah.
And so that's something I don't,
Mhm.
but I definitely have a strong opinion on that. If you're going to come at somebody for one thing, then you need to be in the whole spectrum of it. You can't just accept a half truth about that and then say
Yeah.
something bad about the other as you're trying to. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
being very vague because that's a little bit triggering. I think, well, why would you want to call women people who menstruate? Because they're women too. I mean, hello, let's just
Yeah.
be what we want to be, right? I
I
don't
know.
know. I don't know. That I found a little bit like, huh.
Yeah.
hmm.
Mm.
It's intentions. We say things to hurt other people. And I get tired of hearing excuses that, yeah, but it's this is scientific. And well, why is it coming out of your mouth then? Do you have that degree to say that?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mm.
You know, I have
Mm.
I have a lot of strong opinions.
Hey,
Even
you know what you should do tonight is stay up as late as possible, read or go on your phone or whatever, and I wanna see if this happens to you. If you start to doze off and you start to see things,
ooh,
you
yeah.
need to try that. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
do you have the
Yes.
grandbabies tomorrow morning?
I will tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. Well,
Okay,
early.
so
Yeah,
okay.
earlier than that, but yeah. Yeah, yeah. Hallelujah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this
Mm.
this has been awesome, and I'm definitely gonna try that. I actually have a book on you know, I think it was Dr. Silva that through trying to teach his children about like hypnotize them to learn mathematics or whatever. He
Ooh.
accidentally taught them to be, it's kind of funny, they became psychic in a
Hmm.
way. And it had everything to do with being in that dream state and training their minds to receive information or identify information or calculate or whatever. Um, I have that book and it talks about that certain state. There are a lot of things we can accomplish in that state if we're very controlled
Mm.
and disciplined. So
I
yeah,
will
I need to finish it. I'm reading like 3 or 4 books at the same time right now because that's my
I've got too
ADHD.
many. I have too many, and I haven't read hardly any. And I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I should really read that today." And then I clean and then I forget about it. Or I watch a movie, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna read that. No, I'm gonna read this one today." And I don't
Yeah.
end up doing it. Just it's ridiculous. Anyway.
Mm. Good night, April. And I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to B, but you guys,
Oh,
it's so awesome, and I'm so glad that you guys are here. And you heard it here first. Anyway, yeah,
huh. Okay.
we are a little controversial. I know.
Well, that's you have to spice things up somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because that's again, it goes back to being authentic.
Yeah.
Accept that you have opinions.
Mhm.
It's just your opinions may not be what someone else thinks, and that is completely okay.
Yep.
It should be okay to have opinions, and um, it's okay to have them different than someone else. And I think that we should all be able to coexist with those different opinions. It is also a strong opinion that I don't want to segregate myself and just be with people that are like-minded. Granted, it's empowering to do that. There's less issues. And so I don't think it's bad to do that for yourself if you know that's what you need. But I
I
like
just
to be outside the box.
yeah. Me
with
too.
everything.
I
And I get in trouble for it too.
so what? Just brush it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brush it off.
I scroll.
Yeah. What you said earlier about if we were all telepathic, a funny thought is that with the wars that are going on around the world, now if everyone was telepathic, especially all the politicians and war people. So for example, it's like, okay, we're gonna like fire this and this and this, and then one country's like, oh no, they're gonna do this, and then oh, they know that we just said that or thought about it. There would be no war. There wouldn't be. They wouldn't have a chance to do anything because constantly telepathically they'd be like, oh, they can't. Oh, nope, can't. Nope, can't do it. Nope. That's
That would
how
be
I picture
awesome,
it.
but it would
Sorry?
be tough. We would really have to be on our A game because people would know your true intentions. You wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to pretty it up
I
and
know.
yeah, people would know. So we
Okay.
would have to start living.
Life
Hello.
would be. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, that's somebody said that was somebody on the outside.
Somebody's listening.
Global elitists like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. You guys know, no telepathic shit. Nope, not happening.
Yeah, but that would be funny because nothing really bad would happen. I just don't see how it could. I'm sure there'll be like fist fights still. So like trying to like
How dare you think that?
no, listen. Because people are gonna be angry regardless, right? But if
Yeah,
they're gonna try and
true.
fist fight,
Yeah.
I don't think no one would even get a punch because the person would know when they're gonna punch or where they're gonna punch, right? It's just gonna be the most boring fight. It's just gonna be block, 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 block.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's true.
my
You'd have to
mind
think,
goes
I'm gonna hit you in the face and then somewhere else.
exactly. I'm like, ugh.
We'd have
I
to
think
train
people
ourselves.
would just give up being mean to people. They would just give up because they're like, there's no point. They already know what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
So
Yep. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with?
Like I said, in every video that we finish, always have a notepad when you're out, or at least paper and pen by your bedside, because if you're the more you're open to spirituality, you're going to receive more messages, whether you understand it or not. Write it down or draw it down, even if it's just one thing. It may be
I agree.
have no significance to you at that time, but eventually it will.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. This has actually had some pretty funny stuff in it and some controversial stuff. And so for anybody watching the playback, I love you. I really do. I honestly do. And when I say what is love, for me, love is exactly what you said. It's accepting everybody for who they are. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm trying not to expect, you know what I mean? People to behave a certain way. And then you're not disappointed. I think that we need to expect those things in ourselves first, above all, you know?
Yeah.
And then we know what we want to be around and what we don't. And we have that choice. We have that choice, you know, and if that's what creating a boundary is for you, then do it, because that's what's going to keep you feeling better, you know, help that Kundalini to keep rising, because it's gonna, whether we want it to or not.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be happy while it's doing that.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Thank you, Carol. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Sunday. And thank you for being here.